Hey, you are now listening to the Social English Podcast. This is a formal English versus social English episode.
皆さんこんにちは。毎日少しずつ社交に使える英語の上達を目指すソーシャルイングリッシュポッドキャストへようこそ。今日はぜひもっと自信を持って英会話してみましょう。 Are you ready, Percy? Let's go!
Yeah, definitely I am ready. Thank you for that introduction, Hikari. Welcome everyone once again to the Social English Podcast to help you learn real native English for social situations, okay? So, today, this episode is a new kind of episode. We are going to talk about formal English, okay? Formal English, and I'm going to teach you what native English people really say. Real. That's why this is real social English. So we're going to talk about real English that we use in conversation. And that way you can learn the difference between textbook English and real conversation English. Okay, so let's get started right after this.
英語を学び始めたばかりのリスナーの皆さん、こんにちは。ソーシャルイングリッシュポッドキャストの今日のエピソードはあなたのためです。それでも問題が解決せず、このエピソードの英語が理解できない場合は、ゆっくりとエピソードを聞いてください。頑張れ。
Social English. We have textbook English and conversational English, and even social English. So, the formal word today is commence. The conversational English, speaking English, 英会話 social English, social 英語 is start. So let's focus on commence versus start. Commence is a formal word. Very formal. That means to begin something. 始めて、始める、始めましょう。Start. Okay, begin. Start is more casual and commonly used word. And it also means to begin. We use start in social English and conversational English because it is very easy to understand. Kite kudasai. We will use these two words. 例えば commence. The meeting commence at 9 a.m. Start. The game will start at 7. As you can see, the game will start at 7 is short and more casual English. So, now, here is the history. Commence is English from Old French. The word commencer, which means to begin. Start is from Germany, Deutsche, the language, Deutschugo. From the Old English, Stirtan. Stirtan means to jump. So, in today's native English, we use start more often. Now, let's listen to some examples of commence and start. 聞いてください。始めましょう。Excuse me. Excuse me. Yes? When will the ceremony commence? It'll commence at noon. Hey, when does the movie start? Well, it starts at 8 p.m. Okay, so now we're back in the good internet. Let's listen and watch some examples from native English speakers about the use of commence and start. So first, let's start with commence.
Might be, I can say commence, right? That's something that most people still use. Or I could say start, right? That's something that we use today. But in the 16th century, you probably would go with commence. Or what I could not do, I'll give you.
And it takes a lot of work. And so I would like to thank, in order, firstly, Kevin Rudd for having the foresight as Prime Minister to put our name forward and to commence the bid process. and then to pursue it so energetically as Minister for Foreign Affairs. I'd like
the hopes you have sustained, the encouragement you have showered on these our graduates who sit proudly before us, ready to leave us to commence the next stage of their journeys. First, let me acknowledge and
But as you commence your adult tax-paying lives, these two troubles loom larger than ever. They both are readily expressed with numbers. The first is the number of us. People are being born much faster than
Likewise, we must continue to be forward-looking as a university. The Cornerstone Plan has given us a blueprint for the university's future, and that future is rushing at us quickly. We are now just 2 years from the beginning of our celebration of UVA's bicentennial, which will commence with the 200th anniversary of the laying of the university's cornerstone on October 6, 1870.
So those were some examples of commence. Commence is formal and not used much. Commence was used in the graduation, but again, commence is not used in everyday normal English. So now let's check out start. Start is used in social English, in conversational English, and often, more often, you will hear start. So please listen, try to understand start in these examples. Let's start.
They see us as adults, rational adults. What we need is information, we need data, we don't need help. Now, religions start from a very different place indeed. All religions, all major religions at various points call us children.
That there is a self beyond the ego, beyond other people's feelings or approval. And the more you tune into that, it's like the garden, the seeds of your true self start gestating, they start sprouting and begin to take on a life of their own. So
there was a great scene in a movie about these two brothers that wished to become writers. We start learning about the story of their unfolding lives, the drama of their everyday. One of the guys falls in love, and then his girlfriend commits suicide. Something utterly tragic erupts in his life. And then the film continues, and all of a sudden there's a scene that shows him frantically writing down, and the narrator tells us he felt guilty over the creativity triggered by his lover's death.
And Elvis, things like that, usually become instantly favorited. The dancers and choreographer would then take these stories, start to create movement based on the emotional content of these stories. At the same time, I'm furiously...
I thought it'd be interesting to start by saying, so this is my Centurion card, which I'm very proud to have. Explain to me why I should want this and why everybody else wants this. What's the secret?
Interesting stuff, because you can't make a recipe for something as complicated as surgery. Instead, you can make a recipe for how to have a team that's prepared for the unexpected. And we had items like making sure everyone in the room had introduced themselves by name at the start of the day, because you have half a dozen people or more who are sometimes coming together as a team for the very...
Okay, so that was commence versus start. As you heard and you can see, there are more examples of start because start is used more in social English. And now it is quiz time. Let's do a small quiz. I'll give you 8 statements. You decide if the correct word is commence or start. Okay, let's go. Number 1. The race will blank at 10 a.m. Number 2. The lecture will blank shortly. Number 3. Let's blank the meeting now. Number 4. The event will blank after lunch. Number 5. We need to blank the project soon. Number 6. The festival will blank in an hour. Number 7. Can we blank the discussion? And number 8. The new semester will blank next week.
この章を気に入っていただけたら、5つ星のレビューをぜひお願いします。
Okay, awesome. Now it's time for you. It's your turn to go to work. You got homework, your action items. For practice, I want you to use commence and start in a sentence. So speaking, this is Social English Podcast. This is speaking. Don't write this. Speak to your friend. Speak to your avatar. Practice in the mirror. Practice outside. Practice the formal version, commence, and practice the social English version of start, okay, in sentences. Okay, here's one example. When does your work day start? Or when will the concert start? Okay, so come up with your version, okay, and practice. Rinshu. Okay, practice your version. This has been the Social English Podcast. I'm your host, Percy. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please let me know. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts and follow Social English on our social medias. You can give me a question that you desire. You have a question about English, there's a question about the podcast, you want to be a guest on the podcast. Let me know on Twitter at Social English for Japanese, or DM me, send a message on Instagram at Social English for Japanese. Okay, so that's going to be it for today's episode. Remember, a kaiwa, speaking natural native English, comes with practice. Listening practice, speaking practice. Don't be shy. Get out there. Practice your social English. That's all for today. I will see you next time. Peace and love.
今日は楽しい時間をありがとうございました。ぜひ私たちのウェブサイト realsocialenglish.com を訪問して日本語訳と役立つ情報を手に入れてください。また次回お会いしましょう。バイバイ。See you next time. Bye bye.